It's the psychology of thinking the high notes are up and the low notes are down. Physiologically, it's not that way. They actually are very... And that really is one of the most powerful breakthrough tools for my clients when they're starting to learn to mix those voices together. This is why so many videos are on high notes, because it is counterintuitive. Most people need guidance. You cannot work it out yourself. So today I'm going to go through techniques on how to sing these high notes and how I take my students through from not being able to sing a high note in their life to total breakthrough and freedom in their voice. Are you ready? I'm Angie from Angie's Vocals. We're passionate about helping you learn to sing and unlock your voice, unlock those high notes. So don't forget to subscribe so that you know when we're setting out new videos, and hit the notifications so you get a notification when we put them out, and put your comments in. We're answering your comments. Give us questions, everything you need to just learn how to sing and unlock your voice. So one of the keys in hitting those high notes without strain is learning how to relax the muscles in your throat. So let's start with some techniques on how to relax your throat. So first of all, when we go to sing, a lot of the high notes, we start to squeeze as we're getting higher because we're trying to push those notes, right? And it feels like there's a ceiling there. And sometimes we can squeeze through and get them, but then we're tired afterwards. For some of us, we can only get through a couple of songs and it's gone. And that's because of this squeezing. So we've really got to learn some techniques to get the throat relaxed so it's not getting in the way and restricting our access to those high notes and that power, right, and sustainability over a long period of time. So one of the ones I find is the most effective is the tongue out. So I talk about this a lot because I find it actually fast tracks people's breakthrough by 3 to 6 months when we actually do our singing and our scales with our tongue out. And the reason is those muscles that we can't feel that are squeezing until it's too late. By the time you feel tired, it's already been squeezing for half an hour. But if we can practice with our tongue out, it starts to show us that resonant space up here for the high notes, and we start to learn not to squeeze from here. It takes time, but the more people do it, the faster they start to feel breakthrough. So I'd say the two biggest ones for me in reducing strain is that tongue out, while we're singing and while we're doing scales. And then the second one would be putting your ears in. So actually starting to do your exercises and your singing, obviously not when you're performing. This is for off stage, when you're actually practicing the songs. The more you do it like this, the more when you go to sing it, you'll feel less strain. Now, the reason this makes such a difference is when we can hear ourselves on a microphone or with our ears in, and it needs to be curled right around our ear. So have a look in the mirror when you're doing this. You don't want it closed. You want it open. And then you want this going down under the chin. It's the same, for example, when you practice with a bathroom or in some kind of ambient room where you're hearing that warmth back. Whether you know it or not, you actually relax the muscles and the tension in your throat because you can hear yourself better, so you don't push as much. And it increases the breakthrough period. You'll get breakthrough faster by 3 to 6 months just with these two tools, because it's relaxing the muscles. You don't realize you're squeezing. And I find for all my clients, when I'm taking them through the breakthrough with the high notes, that reduces the strain and helps us get there faster. So those two keys are going to help you reduce that muscle tension really quickly. Okay, the second tool I find that really helps with high note mastery and reducing that strain is proper breathing. Now, what we don't realize is most of the time when we're having to push through all that tension, we're actually squeezing that breath out. But what happens is when we remove that muscle tension and strain, maybe with that tongue out, we've got to start to support from our diaphragm. And you can start to feel it in your tummy. You start to feel like I have to work harder when you're doing your scales, like you start to notice that you're having to push from here and not from here. And when your tongue's out, you can feel this has got to work a bit harder. So that breath and support is very, very important. That diaphragm will start to support those notes. And even as you go into those high notes, When the tension's out of the way, the volume actually comes from pushing from your diaphragm. So if I go, I'm pushing from the diaphragm to increase that volume. And it's so much different when we've got the muscles out of the way, how you start to notice you've got to work from there. So have a little play with that. Even if we do that, you can feel that pushing there, and you notice I've dropped my jaw so that the muscles can't squeeze, and I'm just pushing from the diaphragm. Try that again with me. Now, don't let it be volume. If you feel like you're squeezing from here with volume, got to stop. It's got to be from down here. So that tongue out, even with your ears in, you will notice it's not about yelling, but you can hear once I'm pushing from here and I've got these muscles out of the way, that diaphragm really plays a big part in holding and sustaining those high notes. So that's a game changer. Have a go at that. Let me know how you go. Now, for some of you, the ooh might work better on that. So try your oohs, ahs, or e's. Maybe a bit of the nasally. To help you find that resonant space without squeezing. That one's a game changer. Have fun with that one. Okay, so the third point in our high note mastery and reducing strain is to just get that smooth transition happening between the lower and the higher notes through that mix. Now, my favorite one for that, girls if you're here, guys if you're here, are double arpeggios through that area to start to learn how to get that mix where the muscles and the air balance are starting to work together without strain. So for me, it's going to be soft to loud. On your easiest shape, I like a goo. Guys down here, girls here, and it sounds like this goo, 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 goo. Now the reason I want the soft one first is because if it's softer, you've got to go as soft as it takes for it not to be squeezing or not to flipping or disconnecting, right? Or straining. So you might need your tongue out. So it's about gentleness first, so your voice is showing you where that mix is. Then once that's right, you're increasing the volume from your diaphragm, not from here. Guys, let's try that with me. Go, 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 go. Make sure your jaw's dropping, because if you're squeezing wide, that creates tension here and stops the larynx from moving. Okay, let's try that again. Go, 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 go. From the diaphragm like we did in the previous one. Go, 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 go. Super careful. Go, 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 go. Now if you feel like you're squeezing, go back and start again. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Great. Go, 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 go. Good. Go, 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 go. Pull your tongue out if you're feeling like you're strained. If you're already squeezing, go back and start again, because it's important you've got it right before you get here. Because we're at the female second bridge and the male first bridge by here. If you're a bass or an alto, you would have bridged a lot earlier. Use your ears in if you're squeezing, tongue out. You feel it? Now, if you can't increase the volume yet, if it squeezes, go back to just soft. You're not ready. We're training the muscles slowly, just like at the gym, right? So this isn't about speeding up. If you need to, go to the settings in the video, drop it back to 75% or 50%. Slow and right is better than fast and wrong. The muscles aren't going to learn that way. And remember, it's not about the tonal quality. You can hear it's quite bright like a trumpet when it's right. So this isn't about your tone yet. It's about teaching the muscles to work together and feeling where that free zone is. Make sure you're starting and finishing in that chest mix. Now, a lot of that is about feeling, where do I feel that? Starting to be cognizant. Some people don't feel anything, but just starting to feel the freedom maybe, and that reduction from here. But it's better to go through that slowly down the bottom until it feels free without the squeeze. And that really is one of the most powerful breakthrough tools for my clients when they're starting to learn to mix those voices together. Have fun with that. Okay, next step. Now, the next thing we're going to target is the common mistakes singers make when they're heading for those high notes, right? So we talked about it a bit. It's that squeezing. It's that trying to push up. So it's the psychology of thinking the high notes are up and the low notes are down. Physiologically, it's not that way. They actually are very forward. They resonate off the face, but we feel the resonance coming up through our vocal folds and hitting the soft palate, because the sound's got to come up through the vocal folds, and then it hits the soft palate right at the back, and then the resonance, kind of the feeling for us is very different. It moves forward and back. Now, some people don't feel that, as I said, but still it's very gentle, and so the feeling is more back and forward. With the high notes, I find that it feels like it goes back, then often people feel like it comes forward, and sometimes you feel both. So often we hear about go forward on this or go back, but often it's both as we're hitting the high notes. So when we've got our tongue out and our ears in, starting to learn to navigate those areas of our voice, it's actually quite different. You've got to let your voice show you where it wants to go. Even if it's a bit weak and you don't like the tone, that is guiding you there, right? And then also, as the vocal folds are vibrating faster and faster as we go higher, that pressure of the air and the muscle actually squeezes those notes. So we need the tension out, less air, tongue out helps us get that placement right, and then be thinking back and forward is really where the game changer is. And this is why most people, it's counterintuitive, right? It takes quite a while to learn those high notes. And very few people get breakthrough without a coach, because even with all these steps, you're always guessing, am I getting it right? Am I getting it wrong? So sometimes we do need guidance to help us walk through that, because it's confusing. So if you feel like you've been working on it for a long time and you can't work it out, get a few sessions with a coach to guide you, because it is counterintuitive, but it's really important. And they're the common mistakes people make when they're going for those high notes. Mastery, the last thing I'll talk about is that step-by-step practice routine to really unlock and get that mastery of your high notes, low notes, everything. It all works together. So we want to start with those gentle sirens up through the range, starting to explore where those high notes are. We want that tongue out if you've got compression. We want those ears in. We want to use the cup exercises and a lot of those ones to really reset our voice into that area. And then we want to use those exercises that are teaching those areas of our voice to work together for breakthrough. Now, if you want to jump over to one of my videos, I have done a 20-minute drill that goes through that vocal mastery and that step-by-step journey of how to get to unlock those high notes with me. One of my favorite ways to start is with the sirens, because if we're just doing exercises, we're often tense before we even know. So normally there's tension there for about 20 minutes before you start to feel it, right? So that's where the tongue out, the ears in, those nasally sounds that keep the vocal cords fat as we're going up through the range, reduce the tension and the airflow, which are all the issues that reduce our access to those high notes freely. It's the back and forward. But what I like about the sirens is we start to navigate those high areas. Hopefully you've loved this content, and we have so much more because we want to help you unlock your singing voice. So feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and we've got lots of content. There's a course you can jump into that we've made really affordable so you can learn the steps to unlock your singing and your voice, or you can book me one-on-one if you need that clarity and that direction to unlock faster. Either way, can't wait to see you in the next video.